Hello everyone, I'm Professor Geek. Welcome back to the channel and welcome to the Saturday Night Rewatch, returning home to the Professor Geek channel this week. So have a special little treat for you with Hitchcock's Vertigo. I'm incredibly excited about this one. I think was my sound scratching there a second? I think I got it switched out. I think I kicked a cord or something. Anyway, but welcome. Thanks for being here. We are having a show tonight. The panel here was berating me for a moment ago for not having this up early enough, and then I didn't invite them in early enough to let them chat first. And oh, the professor has just dropped so many balls tonight. I apologize, folks, but I do have a good reason. I have a good reason I'll give you real quick before I introduce everyone, and that is over on the Catholic Bible Geek channel. There is new content.
Really?
I know. It just posted 2 seconds ago or something like that. But
actually,
no,
yeah.
basically
It
just
says,
hey, I'm still
I'm
here.
back.
What do you want to see coming? Yeah, you know, that kind of thing. And reminding people that there is a Catholic Bible Geek Facebook group as well. That was actually started before the Professor Geek Facebook group, but info and all
did
that.
Anything with it?
Yeah, you know, it dropped off as soon as I started my MA program in theology. It got way overwhelming. But anyway, I'm not one to usually put too much on my plate, though, am I, Al?
So, you put more on your plate than people at a free buffet,
right?
Anyway, with me as always is my trusty TA, Big Al. Say hi, Al.
Good evening.
Nice. And we have the Klingon cleric himself, Mr. Troy Pacelli. Welcome, Troy.
Hey, hi, everyone.
And presiding over us all with her wisdom and grace, Mrs. Nanette from Netters Network. Welcome, Nanette.
Hi, guys. How you guys doing tonight?
Nanette.
There you go. Oh, brilliant.
Perfect.
That's nice. Good. You came prepared tonight, Al.
I believe so.
Except for responding to that comment. So,
well,
improv.
Even the great ones must take time. You see.
I will let people know where to queue up their copy while we're welcoming in the chat and everything. It's just easier for me to watch through my Amazon Prime account for these rewatches. So I didn't get my DVD. Those of you watching DVD can give your timestamp, but I finished out all of the Universal logos. I think there are 2 of them usually, but people watching different copies might have different ones. So I finished all that out, and I'm at the scene of the black screen right before Bernard Herrmann's great soundtrack starts. So it's just a scene of black. My screen's a minute
into a Paramount release. The black and white. Paramount
about to go into a Paramount. Yeah, exactly. Okay. About to go into a black and white. Yes, black.
So that's about, on the DVD, that should be about, what, 25 seconds or so?
I believe
okay.
So.
Yeah.
And on the Amazon, it's 1 minute and 4 seconds. But
wow, you got a lot of stuff beforehand on the.
Well, they do the modern Universal and then the old Universal, and all that nonsense.
Cow. Okay.
Yeah.
So, Troy, what's your timestamp?
25.
Okay. So
you should have a black screen just before it comes into the black and white Paramount.
Okay.
Yeah.
I am at 26, but that is my own problem.
Because he didn't press pause fast enough.
So in the chat, this guy named Big Al Presents popped in first, but I have to say he did that.
Peter.
A fine fellow, I hear.
He was on his own ingenuity because I didn't send him the link. He was just watching on his own and saw that, so that he gets points.
I was 4.
It was a matter of good timing, I believe.
Proper. That's going to get really old really fast.
Once the movie starts, I will stop this.
He's kind of fluctuating between Alfred Hitchcock and Orson Welles there.
A little bit, but it's all good. All in the same theme.
I am the culmination of many geniuses, you see.
Lehman Russ with a message retracted, but great to have you here anyway. Mr. Matchstick, Melissa Harris, Brian Gilmartin, Casey Scott, all of our usual folks. Sound Engraver reminding us that she's still here, Troy.
Yeah.
So even though we dearly miss her on mic, she can't be with us tonight. Well, because she's got her ring tomorrow. She's still lingering in the chat.
I can't imagine anything in Vertigo that would cause us to get too blue. But then again, we have Al in the stream, so I don't know.
Well,
We do.
There's always Miss Kim Novak's gravity-defying.
And keep
let
in
me
mind,
check-
I'm here, Al.
Right. And I do have to say, we always have to point out when the female lead is like a Professor Geek, type. Kim Novak is definitely in my wheelhouse.
I believe the term is a cutie, Troy.
Oh, is that what it is? I was going for type, but yes, she would definitely be my type.
The term is Chrysler cutie, much like gals. I do not know what you call your preferred pulchritudes. Oh, perhaps
We did.
perhaps, but it is. I don't know. I would better not say anything.
What have you been drinking tonight, Al?
Coffee missed a few people in the chat. We have Anya Stefani, the Sentinel. I don't know if you said Daniel Heron, and Aged Boomer are the last ones I see.
And Stephen Cruz. And I actually didn't miss them. I just got cut off by a couple of chatty Cathys who can't hold it down.
Yeah. I don't want them to be forgotten.
Anya Stefani sounds like a European pop star.
Right? Evelyn Hampton at least stopped by to give us a thumbs up. She can't actually watch tonight, but she wanted to come by and support us.
Thank you for popping by, Evelyn. Nice to have you. Great to have everybody here with us. Yeah, no, some people show up to watch with us. Other people show up just to hear us prattle on about a movie while they do other things, and all that's good.
Sometimes the prattling is the best part.
Oh, and apparently I'm Miss Brian Gilmartin. Hi, Brian.
So we are going to get started in just a second. So everybody, make sure you're queued up if you are going to watch along. This is, as I said before, I truly believe it's Hitchcock's masterpiece. There are quite a few people who agree with me, but then there are other people who would say something more like Rear Window or Psycho or even North by Northwest are more likely to have that role. But I would argue this one is, even though I love dearly all those movies that he mentioned, that I just mentioned as well, I came across this film. Well, I'm saying a little bit of this now before we start, because as soon as we click play, we're going to hear Bernard Herrmann's amazing score, the theme to this. I told Soundengraver, I was like at some point, your thoughts on this in the future, because it's very distinctive, and then we have this amazing opening sequence too, with this really cool animation and such and whatnot. So it's we'll be watching that as we talk a little bit, but
which I have read was the first use of computer animation in a feature film.
Interesting.
Or so saith IMDb.
And therefore, so saith Big Al.
Therefore, I have no reason not to believe its veracity.
It's a wiki. What could go wrong?
I know.
It's very true.
So tonight we have Big Al Hitchcock.
Exactly, pretty much. I think so. And yes, Mr. Meshtick reminding everybody about tomorrow's We Watch tomorrow night for Ghost of the Shell and Perfect Blue on his channel. We will definitely get back around to that at the end, but don't forget. But
right, I'll drop the link on that one.
Sure, yeah, we'll advertise as we go through. But shall we go ahead and get started then, folks? Or anybody want to wait for a second, or shall we go ahead and hit play?
I didn't see Mohammed, so I guess we can go ahead and start.
All right, dearly. All right, let's go. I'll count down. I'll say 3, 2, 1, play. And when I say the word play, that's when we hit the button. So 3, 2, 1, play. Oh, I love this score. Right? Gosh, it's so good. Because it's a circular melody. And Vertigo is a circular spiraling. Dun, 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 dun. It's going around in a circle.
Oh.
And now we have this opening sequence. Different parts of Kim Novak's face that we're focusing on. We're not seeing the whole picture. We're just seeing parts of it. We're extremely zoomed in. This is all going to come back. I'm not going to give away anything in the analysis or the commentary on this film until we get to the big reveal and stuff like that, because I know that some people are watching along first, and I don't want to ruin the experience of this film for them, because it's so good. It really is so good. But different parts of the face. So we don't see her as a whole. We just see different parts. And now in the eye, because that's a circular shape, and we get the middle in the circles. So lots of spirals, obviously, are going to be seen in this film with the direction. Lots of use of color, because this is the first color film we're watching in our noir theme here. And you can still do noir with color, even though, the shadows are kind of legendary with the black and whites. It was also, a lot of filmmakers and film historians cite this movie as sort of a big major step into the American new wave of cinema in the 60s, which was a lot of directors really going into that tourism, route and really owning their own films and such. And it is that, because Hitchcock always did that, but it's also still very much rooted in noir as well.
Daniel Heron with a $2 super chat.
Oh, thank you, Daniel Heron. Has anyone seen Crazy Kitty or Green Lion Girl lately? I haven't seen Crazy Kitty around lately.
No, you're absolutely right.
Because if she was here and I didn't shout her out, she'd definitely let me know about it.
Right? Well, she should.
Yeah, as well she should. We do miss our dear Crazy Kitty. Green Lion Girl. I don't know if I've seen Green Lion Girl much lately either.
Anya Stefani, she can't see the movie because you need to watch the movie on your own.
Yeah. Sorry, you got to grab it on your own stream or pop in a DVD.
Because YouTube rules.
Yeah,
it is available on Amazon, though, as the prof said.
Yeah, for only like $7, you can own it on Amazon. Super nice. So if you do want to watch that and yell us out, we'll give you a timestamp if you need to catch up.
Absolutely.
Sorry about that. That is a unfortunate bit of a misunderstanding for people who are new to the rewatches and occasionally.
That's why I always try to grab your own copy and join us when I type on my Twitter.
That's a good idea, Al. I should probably start doing that. Directed by the master himself, Alfred Hitchcock.
Until he gets canceled.
Yeah, exactly right. Over my dead body. they will take his films out of my cold dead hands.
Well, that's why you own them on DVD.
Exactly. So even when the actual live action film starts, we start with those extreme close-ups, the hands gripping, and then we pull back to see the scene. So we've got this police chase going on. Set in San Francisco, a common, Los Angeles or San Francisco. The Maltese Falcon was set in San Francisco, so that's California city for the noir stuff.
It allows for a great land. It allows for there's a lot of great landscape and architecture.
Yeah. And that's something that Hitchcock liked to put in his films a lot. He liked to play with landmarks that people were familiar with. Now that Vertigo.
Yeah. I love that effect. That's
go ahead and talk about it.
The I forget exactly how it's done practically when you're pulling back but zooming in with the lens. They made great use of that in Jaws, but this was where it was best framed.
This is where it was kind of invented, or at least it's named for this movie. It's named the Vertigo effect for this film.
Right.
It's called the Vertigo Zoom.
Yeah.
He wanted to do it in Rebecca, but they didn't have the technology then, so it took a while for him to get to the
and that was another
to do it.
And of course, as he's hanging there, I'm like, and how does he get down?
Yeah, right. We cut, but we see he certainly fell to some degree. He's got some pain there with a cane.
Not to mention, now you got to think about the psychology from his point of view. Not only the near-death experience, but the guilt that he's probably feeling too.
Exactly. So just to finish out what I was saying before we got that great scene there, I didn't want to speak over it, but he does like to use landmarks to give people a false sense of security. So in this film, we're going to see the Golden Gate Bridge, a really cool scene around the Golden Gate Bridge, but Mount Rushmore, North by Northwest, stuff like that. He liked to do that quite a bit. And we have Midge here, who's a great character, and she's another. She's the motherly character, but she's also the representation of the good. Remember, there's the femme fatale, and then there's the good, pure. The real woman that's next to you, and that's one of the key things I want to draw out in this film, because this film really shows the anima, and the anima is that Jungian concept. It's the man's idea of a woman. It's not a real woman, but it's your idea of a woman. It's what you project onto women around you quite often. And if you don't have a healthy grasp on it, it messes with, you know, relationships in real life, of course, because you think you've fallen in love at first sight, but you've really just projected your own idea of a woman onto this person you've met, and then soon enough they'll prove that they're actually a real person and not just your projection and your dream fantasy, and then you're like, oh, it's like I don't even know you anymore. And nope, you just actually got to know the real person. That's all.
And of course, Midge, played by the lovely Barbara Bel Geddes, also better known as JR's mom on Dallas.
Oh, that's right. Something that you were just saying, Professor, that leads directly into or relates directly to what he was just talking about. He was explaining Vertigo, how you know, the disorienting it is. And although he doesn't say it specifically, Vertigo directly relates to an imbalance between, well, an imbalance in your inner ear, which is how you feel equilibrium, and what you see. So it's a perception dissonance. And this movie plays a lot with perception dissonance.
That's a great connection. Yeah, absolutely. I like the way you said that.
I just wanted to get that in there because that's the best place to.
Yeah.
Well, hello.
Again, very motherly. She just said, "You know about brassieres. You're a big boy now." You know, he keeps saying motherly. At one point, he even tells her, "Don't be so motherly." Hitchcock mother figures played a big role in Hitchcock's films, bearing mother.
Yeah,
and you can do your own sort of psychological analysis of his own life, you know, to make that fit. But the idea of
sorry, isn't this like a reference to who was the rich guy that flew planes?
Oh, Howard Hughes.
Howard Hughes talking at a wired bra for Jane Russell or something.
That's an excellent point. Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. He's got a corset on himself, you know, for his ribs.
Right.
And she designs these you know, lingerie and these brassieres and all of this technology, but it's all meant for support. It's all meant to hold one up, whether it's the corset of his ribs or a woman's corset, you know, or a brassiere or whatever. It's meant to hold up. And again, that's in juxtaposition from Falling, you know, Vertigo. So it's all thematically linked here. And we just dropped the little bomb about they used to have sort of a romance in college, but and you got her little subtle reaction to it, telling you that she might still like to have it, but he's, you know, he's Mr. Oblivious to that.
Well, we all know what that's like.
Yeah, oblivious man.
Aged Boomer with a. Oh, go ahead. You got it.
No, go ahead and read it, please.
Well, he was bringing up. He was bringing up the point that tech journalist Andrew Keene says Vertigo is about necrophilia. I'd love to hear more about that, Aged Boomer, because I just do not necessarily make that connection.
I honestly, sorta,
metaphorically, yeah. Once we get to the end, I don't want to give things away, but you could metaphorically say something like that. Certainly,
that's a bit of a stretch if you mean it the way I think you mean it. I mean,
not literally, no, not literally being.
Yeah, it's kind of
No.
I'd say Psycho's a little bit more necrophilia than this movie is.
No, not literally. I actually show this film. I teach a class occasionally called The American Ghost Story. And this is one of the stories we look at. We look at this film because it's about being haunted by someone. Even if there's not a literal specific being haunted by your perception of someone or whatever, it's very much prevalent in this movie.
Now
yes, with Media, we have started, yes.
Yeah, if you need a timestamp, let us know.
Hi, Wolfie.
We're right around the 10-minute mark, 10 and a half.
Wouldn't his life have been so much simpler if he just loved this woman here?
Yep, that's the thing. Stop looking into the dreams, right? That's the lesson of the anima.
I love those old stools like that.
Well, and see, that's the problem, right? When you have a specific type that is so specific that you absolutely have to have that exact person you've imagined in your mind, you're just setting yourself up to be alone.
Exactly. I feel like you're saying something there a little under the radar, but I'm just going to ignore it because
you prefer your delusion to reality.
Oh, so now someone else is no, sorry.
Notice
I just call him like I see him.
Okay, he thinks like a woman.
Yeah, right. And very childish, and he had to be held by her. Now here we have Hitchcock's little.
In fairness, though, let me defend the character a little bit. I mean, he has a real phobia, a phobia brought on by some physical ailments.
Extremely debilitating too. That's important plot.
Exactly.
Now, there is a lot of use of what's going on outside of windows. We just saw the landscape, the set, secure landscape outside of Midge's window. Now, and I forget his name, Gas. I'm blanking on his name all of a sudden. But this old friend that they were just talking about that wanted to see him. Outside of his windows, you have these, cranes, these moving, that's very powerful. And I am going to do a little bit of a psychoanalytic reading of this film. So put away your middle school Snickers and your he said phallic symbol or something like that, because you do see some stuff like that. It's a valid artistic analysis. And the cranes, these are wrecked cranes outside, this sort of phallic. I actually saw, unless you think I'm just being a creep, in high school, I talk about my high school film class so much because even after all the college, that high school film class was so amazing. The teacher was just so great and really had an impact on me. There's in Charlottesville, Virginia, there's a UVA has a film festival every year. And we got to go on a field trip to see a screening of this movie with Roger Ebert himself doing a shot-by-shot analysis of it. Wow. It was phenomenal. Like, he would sit there and he would pause it like every few minutes and he would talk about this scene or that shot or whatever. And he was doing a very psychoanalytic reading of it too. And he went a little far in some places, but he opened my eyes to it in so many ways too. And then after studying it over the years and teaching it, it's really deepened.
Can we really just take a moment and appreciate that desk?
I thought that as you went into the scene, but then I also want to point out, in a very literal sense, the filming technique that shows us what's going on outside. I don't know if that's a back projection or exactly how they're doing it, but man, it looks good. And when you compare that to the back projection you've seen in the previous black and white films that we've been watching, that's pretty darn impressive. That is incredibly realistic and so well focused, considering it's something way in the background.
Am I the only person who thought when the prof said no Snickers, like chocolate?
You can have those kind of Snickers.
I was like, we can't have chocolate?
No, I'm already on my best behavior because of Sound Engraver. So when he said don't snicker, I said I won't snicker. I won't make any bad jokes.
Well, I think Sound Engraver had to turn in early tonight because she had something in the morning.
She's got an early morning tomorrow.
But she will listen to this. You know she will.
I know. That's why she gave the warning earlier on. And she's also the one that I thought of when you were talking about the motherly, female. I'm like, no, we need Sound Engraver here right now at this moment.
Sound Engraver is many, many things. Now we talked over it there, but you see the depth of field that Hitchcock played with, the angle. We stayed with Scotty, James Stewart's character there, and his friend walked around behind him, so things kind of going on all around him. Again, the spiral of vertigo, and we're going to see more shots like that as we build on to what's going on and figure out more what's going on through the plot.
And you notice how he's on a raised platform, like he's higher.
Yeah.
Than he is. He's got to look up at him, so which is also not good for vertigo.
Yeah,
right.
True.
He's the one moving around, whereas Jimmy Stewart stays pretty much where he is.
I don't know if this was I've told the story before about the older woman. Her husband was the ambassador to Chile at times, and she was in her 80s, and I was taking her to see the Lord of the Rings movies, and I'd go read to her. She's the one that got me going to college and stuff like that. I've told the story before. But she was, she was moving in quite, fancy circles. And she told a story about one time she and her husband were at some gala or something like that for charity, and they got into a limo with James Stewart. They were sharing a limo with James Stewart. Cool. And as soon as he was in the limo and shut the door, he took his toupee off and threw it on the table and was like, okay, don't have to wear that thing anymore, or something like that. I don't know what point in his life that was. And maybe it was past this point or something, but, it's just a story. He is such a great and versatile character. I don't think he gets people who haven't seen a lot of his films don't always realize. They just think, oh, Jeremy Stewart, they just kind of type him in that, cast. But he was, I'm talking about Westerns, thrillers, romance stories, comedies, obviously. He really was quite versatile. He did a great radio serial too called The Six Shooter, which he was quite good in.
Problem is that he is so so I don't want to say typecasted, but in the general zeitgeist, he's only really known for It's a Wonderful Life, because we spent over a decade being saturated with that film. You know?
I mean, I had to tell Troy about Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. He had never even heard of it. Or
I had never seen that until she had me see it. And
so
oh my God,
that's a great film. In fact, one that kind of crossed my ship's path.
Oh, yeah.
Now, remember I said we look at color and the use of color, and we already saw red associated with Kim Novak's character in the opening sequence with that red tint, but now he's about to see her character here and look at this deep, lush red, because he's going to be quite infatuated with her. Now, red is one thing for the infatuation, but then look at that bright emerald green. This is another color that's associated with her character in terms of the dreamlike, specter-like aspect of her. And we talked over it, but basically his friend there, this is his wife, and his friend has asked him to follow her, to do a tail on her, because she's acting very strange. She's acting very weird and talking about her ancestors, and there's this sort of like she's going crazy or something, or feeling possessed or something. We're going to have this develop here a little bit. So a lot of mysterious things going on. And he sees her through a frame. This is extremely important. The first time he lays eyes on her straight ahead, she's framed. She's like a piece of art.
Wow.
She's not real, She
surely is a work of art.
No, she's gorgeous. Yeah, Kim Novak was a great. And right there, profile.
24 years old to Jimmy's 50, almost 49 at the time.
Mm-hmm.
She's
got elegance way beyond 24 years.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Look how she moved, almost like the Mars Attacks girl. Just like smooth, kind of weird.
Was Kim Novak trained as a dancer?
Possibly. I don't really know a lot about her.
I only asked that because of the way she walks.
Mm-hmm. This with the scene we just saw, actually, we already began our long swath of storytelling with no dialogue whatsoever.
Yep.
And it's very indicative of a Hitchcock. I'll pull that off, especially in a film. But at no point do you get bored, because you're with Scotty. You are really trying to figure out what the mystery of this woman is. So you're watching her just as closely as he is to try and figure out what's going on. And it's not that the film became static. There's action. There's movement. We're following. She's going over here and doing this. He's trying to keep it distant. So there's tension. There's action. We just don't need all the talking,
Well, and she's in the shot. So, I mean, it's interesting. Al, did you notice the uniform of the officer that was sitting in the foreground when they first showed her? How many stripes he had on his sleeve?
That's a long service.
Yep. That's what I thought too. I was like, wow.
Well, of course. And of course, speaking of service, I mean, talk about James Stewart. Somebody forget American hero.
That's exactly right.
But and stayed in the reserves.
I didn't know. I didn't know he was in the reserves.
He stayed in the reserves. I think I forgot what he was. He a colonel?
He had rank. I don't know what it was.
Yeah, I forget. I'll have to look it up. I know he achieved some very impressive heights within the military.
But just the fact that you have these characters who have nothing to do with the story, in the foreground, in the background, whatever, and little cues like that tell you a story about that character. Again, they have nothing to do with it, but those details tell story too.
Sure. Now, like I said, red is going to surround her quite a bit, but gray and green are going to be the colors she tends to be kind of associated with right now. Again, very specterish colors, not real, so to speak, in terms of the shade of green, apparently. But
wow. Sorry.
Go ahead.
He was a brigadier general when he retired.
Wow.
U.S. Air Force Reserve, promoted to brigadier general in 1959.
I love how Al stakes his claim. It's my turn to talk, but then he throws out sorry, just to make it okay.
But the information he's giving is great stuff. I mean, I'm certainly interested.
And it was timely. It was very timely in that moment. I'm just messing with him. I'm just messing with my buddy Al.
Or as they say, don't ask permission, ask Ask forgiveness or something.
Yeah,
Forgiveness.
better to ask forgiveness after the fact. Yeah.
Like, well, it's also that was the year of this film, so he became a brigadier general when this at the time of this film was being made or coming out.
And for when Sound Engraver does watch this later, I'm 90% certain that's all her hair. That also means she spent a lot of time getting her hair done.
Yeah, Hitchcock, he eventually developed this, the Hitchcock leading lady was an icy blonde. You know, it's something he developed over his career, but, you know, yeah, Kim Novak, Janet Leigh, certainly Tippi Hedren, you know.
Gosh, I never noticed that. I guess Hitchcock and I had the same taste in women, but I don't think I'm quite as sleazy. I don't know. Nanette would be a better judge of that.
I'm not saying a word.
Confirmed. Troy is sleazy.
I guess.
No, it's like I don't want any part of that conversation. Y'all can no. Because that's going to move on to something else that I really don't want to hear, and Sound Engraver definitely won't want to hear.
Mama said, straighten up, boys.
Yeah, I guess so.
Don't make me pull that mom voice.
Al, how old was Barbara Geddes in this film?
Barbara Bell Geddes was, I don't know, gotta look it up.
Okay, I was just curious because
you know he's got the screen up anyway, so
yeah. You mentioned her in Dallas. I never watched Dallas, but I know her from one of my favorite episodes of The Twilight Zone by one of my favorite Twilight Zone writers. She was a part of a married couple going on a cruise to kind of save their marriage, and they ended up on this anniversary trip with a bunch of old people going to Britain. It was quite good. Definitely one to look up. Nice little twist.
Okay, she was born in 1922, so
I love these old missions.
37.
Yeah, 37. Okay, yeah. So
Now, if you noticed, while he was inside the church, he took off his hat. When he came back outside, he put it back on.
because he's a gentleman.
Yeah, I mean,
it was
men were
just
so respectful
automatic.
then.
Yeah, it was just automatic. You knew that you did that. I'd like to think anyone who wears a hat today would probably do the same thing, because if you're going to bother to wear a hat, you know the etiquette of wearing a hat.
I like
not everyone, dear.
Well, that's probably true. The
You just
ding
said-
dongs, the ding dong hipsters going around wearing dilbies probably wouldn't know. So you're absolutely right.
At least take off your
And,
man bun before you enter a building.
yeah.
Right.
Barbara Bell Geddes born on Halloween, by the way.
You mentioned the old missions, and yeah, that's a part of the great appeal here. Is that haunting touch from the past, and there's a big, influence of the past on the present is a major theme in this film too. Obviously, through her going to buy these flowers to take to this individual's grave, but the old missions, this touchstone of an older California, still there.
You know what mission this is?
It's not the one that we visited.
It's not the San Luis Obispo.
No.
Of course, today you'd have a bunch of chin beards spray painting it and tearing things down.
Yeah.
Well, unfortunately, a lot of them have become privately owned now and are losing funding, and it's really kind of sad, actually.
The spirals, even to her hair, we'll see that more closely too. But the way her hair's up in the back, because I know you gents love the hair. It's coiled. It's sort of a spiral in the back.
And I can confirm that's her real hair. It's not a wig.
Some people were. Ooh, what story did I write exploring the what thing? I see you.
So he was.
San Juan Batista.
Okay.
I think that's one of the ones that I was reading about recently. That's in private hands now, and they don't have the funding to keep it up the way they need to. We were talking, Professor, about and I'm forgetting the name of the story, but he was talking about the whole taking somebody and making them into
yes,
you're lost. Yeah. Serena, that's what it was. Right.
Yeah. Well, that is something I picked up, I think, probably from my early love of Hitchcock movies, as I grew as a writer too. But I do
you
like
think this one specifically influenced that story?
Oh yeah, this one, some Poe, Ligeia from Poe, Frankenstein. Even I was really playing with these themes, but Hitchcock loves the theme of voyeurism, and that's something that I just picked up big time in my own work too. I mean, and I don't mean creepy like peeking in a girl's window while she changes necessarily voyeurism, but like what he's doing right now, watching somebody,
Right.
you know, unbeknownst to them, you know, learning about them or what, you know, forming a perception of them and so forth.
Observation.
Yeah.
There's that swirl again.
Yeah. And he notices it in the painting.
Okay, well, that's a bit on the nose when you focus in like that.
Well, it's important to the plot because,
right,
you know, she's feeling as though, well, we'll find out in a second. I don't want to spoil it for those watching along.
Well, just a look on his face, like, why is she looking at that? You know?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And he was a police detective before he retired because of the vertigo. So, you know, this is the first bit of dialogue we've had in something like 10 minutes or so. And we're not going to have dialogue.
Oh my gosh, you're right.
Yeah. And I mean, he could have just looked at a catalog and we could have read this, but then you got people who don't necessarily read, you know, going to a film. So you do need that little bit of information there. But we go back to quiet.
There's a guy's home. You can find it in the catalog, and he gives them a catalog to look at.
Mm-hmm.
I believe he's driving a DeSoto.
I do love those looks, that design of cars. You know, that time period.
Thins.
That's one thing fun about LA Noire, Troy. If you ever do pick up that game, you get to drive so many different styles of classic cars. It's so much fun.
Nanette and I have been talking about it. I actually still have the window open, waiting to drop the hammer on that one.
What kind of game console do you have?
Just the PC.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say, if you had a PS3, I could send you the game.
No.
Because I haven't downloaded.
I have not been able to. Once they started putting out different consoles, I was like, well, I like this game on this console, but I like this game on this console. You know what? If they're not going to put it out on the PC, I don't want the damn thing.
It is a headache sometimes. I understand.
Oh yeah, I absolutely refuse to buy any of those consoles for even when my kids were younger. It's like, I'm not going to buy, you know, was it a PS4 or PS3 or whatever the numbers are, or this other one or this one or the Wii, and because they're going to play a couple games and then they're going to get bored with it, and then I've just dropped a whole bunch of change on something they're never going to play with again.
Would you believe in all the times I've seen this movie, in all the times I've seen Psycho, in all the times I've seen Rear Window, I never made the voyeur connection.
Really?
It's so obvious, you know?
Yeah.
I feel so like, you know, Watson. It's like, oh, it is elementary, you know?
Yeah,
wait,
exactly.
You didn't get the voyeur connection from Rear Window?
Well, Rear Window, obviously, but I didn't get the running theme for Alfred Hitchcock.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
I mean, it's right in your face in Rear Window. I never picked it up here. I didn't really make the connection in Psycho.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'll even see it with Notorious when we watch it Tuesday. Go ahead, Al.
Ellen Corby, Grandma Walton.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's right.
Oh my goodness, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Was that the same one from It's a Wonderful Life? Was she the one that came in and wanted like $16.30 or whatever it was?
I think so. No,
I don't think so.
It sure looks.
So
like
that was the girl from Green Acres, and she was Mrs. Abner's sister.
It all runs together in my mind now.
Yeah. So we've just revealed that she has taken a room at this hotel under the name of that lady in the portrait.
Oh my God, she might have been. She was in it. It's a Wonderful Life.
So that is her. I was right.
Ms. Davis. Yeah, yep. I didn't. Good catch. I did not recognize her.
I must be talking about a different character then.
No, she's the one that comes into she has a very small role. She comes into the building and loan and everyone's taking out their money and they want to take out all their money. She's the only one that comes out and she says, I want like $16.30.
Oh yeah.
And he gives her a big kiss because she's just making a normal, regular, everyday withdrawal.
That's right.
Yeah, because it's like, oh, I've got $24 in this account.
Yeah.
But how much do you need right now? Could I have? I think it was actually like $8.
Yeah.
Like I have $8.24.
Yeah.
And he gives her a kiss.
It was right after the jerk just demanded to take everything he owned.
Right.
These God's eye views or bird's eye views, you tell them in film school or film lingo, are another trope of Hitchcock. You like to look down on the, especially staircases. You see staircases play a big role in his films. That's part of the spiral, up and down of this film. So he just saw her, but now he doesn't see her. What's going on?
Ooh, I like that tie.
Is this a ghost or what?
Maybe.
When he came back from the war, he was actually planning to retire, but George Cukor convinced him to come back for It's a Wonderful Life. And can you imagine all of the amazing performances that he just retired after the war?
He was terrified to do that film too, because he just thought he hadn't done it in so long,
and he was very uncomfortable with Donna Reed and that kiss.
Maybe this Christmas we can do a rewatch of It's a Wonderful Life, and we can actually give information about Vertigo.
Oh, you screw you. Okay, Al, you can't give any more. We can't do any more trivia about the actors in this movie.
No,
I try.
I'm just messing with you guys.
Another film that he was good in was Cheyenne Social Club.
I don't know that one.
Out of her window, you can see, the hills of San Francisco. And that's the thing. San Francisco is a city of hills, up and down and up and down. And that plays into the Vertigo theme.
It's a beautiful view, too. I bet that would be a pricey view today.
Oh, yeah.
It probably was back then, too.
It's so painful because she's just so devoted and enamored to him. And you just want to slap him. Like, come on. You've got this wonderful woman right there.
Yeah, not to mention she's totally babified.
I know. She's gorgeous. She's,
blonde.
She's just, but very devoted to him. But, you see those motherly characters. Now, she's not an overbearing, tyrannical mother like, Hitchcock puts in some of his films, but she's as much of a motherly character.
She's nurturing.
Yeah, yeah.
All the books.
I love a bookstore. Especially someone like that, like older look. It got to smell good in there.
Yeah, I like to smell old books.
That's why I turn my living room into a library. I love books.
Nice.
The smell of books.
Yeah.
Smells from the stacks.
Smells from the stacks. I like it.
Dude, you don't smoke around books.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Bad for those books.
But again, this is another thing that, at a different time, you wouldn't even think twice about it. It's just smoking was something you did wherever you were. The fact that culture has changed causes us to look at it differently. That doesn't mean we need to edit the old movie.
Yeah. So we've got this story here of the actual Carlotta Valdez and her sad, tragic history. And she was like the character of the historical person of Carlotta Valdez in this film was the other woman, right?
Yeah.
She was the one who was somebody had an affair. She was the other woman, even the historical figure. He seems almost nostalgic for that.
Yeah.
They could do that in those days. They had the power. I like how each of them are looking at something different, So she was driven mad. before committing suicide. Now you've got this his friend now, you know, who he's following around, and she's becoming so more and more enamored with this historical figure. Look at the subtle, like the light dimming.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a very, like the fade out to the next scene began far into the scene still.
Again, I said it in the last stream. I'm going to say it again.
And you see how it just like suddenly became lighter inside the bookstore?
Mm-hmm. As soon as they left and the story's over. Yeah.
Right.
It's like
exactly.
ghost right there. Yeah.
I said it before. I want to say it again. You have this incredible use of space and framing by the director that honestly, I don't see anymore in Hollywood.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Elster, that's the name I was looking for. So that he thinks, you know, that she's taken possession of his wife. Is she pretty?
She's a peach.
She's jealous.
I also love that transatlantic accent of hers.
Oh, I know. It's gorgeous, isn't it? I love that accent.
Those glasses on her make her look so much older than she is.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Older isn't necessarily bad. It gives her a sophistication too.
Okay, she was what, in her 20s when she did this film?
37, I think Al said. Is that
Yeah.
what you said?
Oh.
35 or
Yeah,
something?
37. Born in 22.
Okay. Gonna say she looks like she's more in her 40s with the glasses because it makes her look older.
Mm-hmm. That's good for her character too, because she's supposed to be college, you know, mate of Scotty, I think they said.
Yeah, they have to make, if she is going to be a college mate, they have to make her older or him younger.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So now we find out that Carlotta is the ancestor and actually has touchstones, jewelry. Love those gentleman clubs.
Hmm.
Such a great thing from the past.
Yes, we've been thrown out of the gentleman's club, and now we have to have just our little man cave.
Hey, we got a pretty awesome man cave. I just happened to share it with Troy.
That's
Mhm.
true. Well, if I'm going to have a man cave, I want my woman in it.
And that not everybody struck the absolute vein of gold that Troy did.
Danny, danny, foo, foo. Again, you were talking about the use of depth and dimension. This now we're in close up, but before when we were looking at both of them, you saw the whole room behind them, and it was just barely out of focus. They did a great job. Well, again, that's an Alfred Hitchcock trait, but the use of all that space around them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm trying to remember who the cinematographer was in this film. I can't find it. But Hitchcock as a director,
I need this.
Yeah. I know, I like that.
Robert Burks.
Robert Burks, yeah. Hitchcock as a director, you know, it's just, I mentioned this a little bit at the end of last Tuesday's rewatch. He very much saw his role as the director not as just everybody else does their part and he just kind of supervised the actors. No. He was the author of this film, and that meant that he had a role in everybody's job. You know, so when a writer came in, he didn't want the writer just to do it on their own. No, the writer helped him form up the story. A cinematographer, you know, helped him go along. In fact, I talked to a guy, you know, Hitchcock is famous for his own movies. He liked to do the edits himself because he didn't try, you know, you shoot all this content, you know, some studio guy, you know, edits it their own way and makes it practically a different picture. And I was talking to a guy when I was a little younger. I knew a guy who he was older at the time, and he once upon a time had a job as the projectionist in these old studios over there in California. And he had all these stories, and he actually ran a projector one time for a Hitchcock film when Hitchcock wanted to come in and watch a print of his film as they were editing it or whatever, And he said he did ask Hitchcock one time. He said, because he's so known for editing his own films. He said, well, how before you did that, how did you make sure an editor would cut when you wanted the film to be cut? And Hitchcock's like, I just put me hat in front of the camera.
That's awesome.
Well, that's one way to do it.
Yeah.
Well, it's like there's a YouTuber that we listen to. He's a Montreal litigator turned YouTuber, and whenever he's ending a portion so he can edit, he'll put his hand in front of the camera and then bring his hand back when he's coming back.
Oh,
And it's like that's what it sounds like. It's like, yeah, just put my hand in front of it. So yeah.
Cool. There's another Hitchcock movie with Jimmy Stewart called Rope, which is an amazing classic.
I love that one too. Yeah.
And he wanted that one to appear as though it's all in one single shot. They didn't have the film reels to do it in those days. So he
exactly where he's going with this.
He would make sure the cuts came in like a area of blackness or something, so you couldn't see it.
Or he'd close in on someone's back or whatever, or have them pass in front of the camera so it goes to black. Yeah. So he could basically just so he could change the film, right? Now notice that his tie is changed now. It's a different day.
Yeah, true. And you got the Golden Gate Bridge there. This symbol of permanence. And we know that she's feeling controlled by this Carlotta who killed herself historically. And now she jumps into the water there.
I like how he takes off his coat and his hat before he jumps into the water. You can also tell she was holding her breath and spitting out the water so she wasn't actually drowning.
It's interesting that you point that out because thinking about it, if I was in the same circumstance, I'd probably do the same thing. If you dive into that water with a wool coat,
it's
going to weigh you down. Yeah, it's very, very difficult.
It's interesting.
You don't want to ruin a good hat over a woman.
It's interesting how there were stairs along the side for them to climb back up. With that.
Convenient, right?
Right. It's like, so it makes me wonder if were the stairs manufactured for the film or are they actually always there?
I don't know. I don't know that.
Probably there for like people to get off boats or something like that.
Oh,
yeah.
Like small boats that have to pull up and for them to get out. People who do maintenance or look under the bridge or stuff.
Mr. Matchstick,
again, look at that window out the window. That cityscape.
Oh yeah.
I'm sorry. I know it's not that crucial, but that just catches my attention.
Yeah.
Okay, now I see all of her clothes hanging up in the shower, and it's like, or in the kitchen rather, and it's like, did he undress her or did she undress herself? Well, she's in bed, so it's kind of like, okay, I understand you had to take the clothes off, but did you peek?
I'm sure he was a gentleman.
I don't know. He's peeking now,
which means he peeked,
and he's been peeking all along. So,
and she appears to be in other clothing because I see yellow.
Oh, she's naked, I think, in bed. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I guess she is.
Yeah.
I guess the yellow's the blanket.
Now, this is the first moment she looks at him, right? And look at that surprise.
She's like, I'm in bed and I'm naked. What the heck happened here?
Mr. Matchstick made an excellent point. She was wearing a purple and blue dress, and he's wearing a blue tie. Was there a connection there? Possibly.
So this is a big moment. This is, he's been sort of falling for this woman at afar without any kind of contact. And now, you say he clearly had to undress her and whatever. Talk about boom, the most intimate contact. I mean, not the most intimate contact, but without
it's extremely intimate. Yeah.
Yeah. And so this is a big one for him, and he is infatuated with her. We've seen that already.
Come on, who wouldn't be?
Yeah.
Al, don't say it, Al. He's over there like foaming, yeah.
Al, behave.
looking at her. It means more when it comes from you. Okay, now she looks young. Now she looks, 20 something. She did not before. And now I feel a little creepy looking at her because she does look so much younger.
What's interesting is that her hair is still kind of up. It's like, I think that her hair would have been brought down so it could dry.
She's still very ghostly in her movements and her demeanor. She's still very, just otherworldly, right?
Okay, I guess it's kind of down. I just see the pins in the back that he didn't bother to remove.
Well, he hasn't done anything with her hair. Okay, he didn't know to do that.
Tried to try.
That's basically what happened because of being in the water and just naturally falling.
Right. Like I said, he's a guy. He wouldn't think of that. Well, you would.
I would have. Yeah. But I'm a married man married for 30 years, of course.
We've done the whole Ren thing where you've had to take a bunch of pins out of my hair.
Yes, I have.
Is that a 30-year mark where you get that knowledge?
It's an accumulation of wisdom, okay? The Ren Fair thing would be I would know exactly how many pins were in it in the first place.
Well, you guys are cosplayers too, so that's gonna, you gain that
exactly.
kind of knowledge. Yeah.
Back when I was in theater, someone once said of me that I know far more about women's makeup than any straight man should. And is it just because I'm not used to seeing him in color, or does his hair seem particularly light?
It's very blonde.
Yeah.
He is very blonde in this film, yeah. And if he was in his 50s, I mean, he might have been graying a bit.
Handshaking?
Easier to color it blonde than, make him look dark or something. And the way she speaks, the way she commands herself, she is still very authoritative, despite her youthful appearance.
That accent of hers.
Mm-hmm. It's a little more high-class British than transatlantic, but it's still in the same area.
Yeah.
But, it's funny. I talk about that that lady that, the older lady that I used to read to and stuff. She had a very similar accent, and it was just because of being sort of that class at that time, you picked up. And she wasn't British, but she almost sounded like it a little bit, and it was when I was a kid, it was kind of starting to go out of fashion, but it was very common in school to go to diction classes, and they would teach you diction. They would teach you how to speak. And you didn't realize it as you were taking the classes, but they taught you how to pronounce words with that kind of an accent. It just told people I am educated, I don't know if they still have it now, but for the longest time in Britain, there was actually like an information number you could call to get grammatical answers. Like if you didn't know the spelling or the pronunciation of a word or whatever, you could just call this information number for the proper.
Really?
Like it was that much of a deal.
Well, nowadays I'm so used to, really quick doing an internet search to double check myself, that.
Or Alexa.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
And just now, the little thing next to you just lit up, looking for you to give it a command. Right?
It gets annoyed, like you called my name. Why didn't you ask me something?
The one down here, every time there's a commercial for it on TV, it'll light up and then go away because it's like, oh, you're not giving me a command. Okay,
I call mine.
Speaking of TV, I like his little TV in the background there.
I like those classic ones, yeah. But that calls to attention how many frames we're seeing in his apartment through the window, the fireplace, the television, and she's quite often herself from the camera in between something or whatever, so that idea of the voyeurism, or the idea of being far removed from her, even though she's in his apartment, you know, in his robe, you know, there's still a untouchability about her. To say nothing of being, you know, another man's wife.
What's amazing is she pulled her hair back, put a couple extra pins in her hair, looks perfect. It's like, you didn't even comb it.
Their hands touching, bells ring.
Sparks just flew.
Yeah, like I said, bells rang when they touched.
Yeah, great. Yeah, I like that.
I was going to mention this in the last rewatch, but I'm going to mention it here. You notice his phone is a straight cord. It's not that, you know, spiral.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. I always hated the darn spiral cords. They get tangled all the time. I hated it.
And they would lose their
and they get stretched out. You know what?
Or it gets that weird little place where it's not a spiral, but it's like this.
It loops back on itself.
Weird.
Yeah, exactly. And we're
And
talking
like,
about boomer problems that most of the people in this stream have no clue what we're talking about.
They're like, phones used to have cords? What?
Heck, I love his little bar that he has there. A little dry bar.
Now, she was out of that door
like that.
Way too fast to actually get dressed. But the robe was left in there, and then the clothes were gone. Now, poor Midge. Poor Midge. Was it a ghost? Poor Midge.
I'll have to go and find me an oil baron to marry.
I never got into Dallas. I know that's a reference to it.
Yeah,
but that's one thing that everyone else seems to know about.
My mom and grandmother watched it, so I was dimly aware of it. Did you know they actually had a role-playing game of Dallas?
Really?
I kid you not. I've looked into it. It was horrible. I don't know who that was marketed for or what the intent was. But yes, it was a thing that existed. But heaven forbid I should mention anything that has nothing to do with this movie. So let's
Troy, knock it off.
Am I being a little passive aggressive?
Oh, just a little, dear.
Mr. Mess, I'm not going to read it, but his comment is just cracking me up.
Oh, wow.
Those are words to live by, Mr. Mestick. I won't deny it.
She's got the crazy eyes. You mentioned it before. I want to bring it up again. As we're going down the San Francisco streets, and I've been in San Francisco, it's very much like this. You cannot drive down a street without getting vertigo. I mean, the way they wind and they go down very, very steep hills. It's crazy.
It's really easy to get nauseous too because you're going up and down those hills so much.
Yes.
It's like,
look at how steep that is.
Makes sense, yeah.
We had to go into a parking garage that was steeper than that hill he was going down. And it was
and when you go up those hills, you're worried that your transmission's going to slip.
Yeah, I was wondering how many cars like just die on those hills.
You literally have to ride your brake all the way down that hill. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm glad this is a rental because this would kill my brakes.
I wonder what it would be like to be on a bicycle at the very top and just
he's taking up 2 parking spots. I know he is. He pulled in badly. That bugs me.
So it's funny that he's been following her and now she comes back to him. So this circular sort of.
Yeah. Oh, look at that Asian aesthetic there. I have that tie, that pattern.
Got a nice tie collection, Troy?
I do. Nanette, tell him I have a crap load of ties.
Yeah, which he never wears, but you do still have that one, dear.
I do. I have another one that's actually very similar with a larger pattern.
Mhm.
I'm sorry. I know that has nothing to do with the movie.
It's okay. I don't really have anything to say about this moment, except that she's above him. Now we get a little bit of
looking up at her like she's an angel.
connection.
Especially with that hair looking like a halo because it glows.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's very otherworldly, either ethereal. That's the word I'm looking for.
There you go.
Wolf 10 Media says, hit them likes, dang it.
Yes.
The way I'm seeing it, I'm looking for just one more because we got 16 watching right now.
That's right. Need another like. Think you'd be awesome.
Do it, or I'm jumping off the bridge.
Okay. Now I'm realizing that this is an outdoor shot, and we're definitely that distance shot there is, real time.
Sure.
So, but still, it's beautiful. I don't know if I'm just impressed by the color on this or what, but the dimensionality is incredibly good. Who did you say was the cinematographer on this?
Robert Burke or something. Burks.
Yeah, he did a great job.
Hold on a sec.
So now he's decisively stepping over the line of investigator for his friend. Now he's wanting to let me spend a little time with you.
Well, he's got a certain investment here. He literally just saved her life, right?
Yeah.
So he kind of feels responsible for her now.
Mm-hmm.
I'll give him a little bit of leeway on that because you kind of have to, But yeah.
Now they're going into the redwood forest here. Another like landmark thing, the big permanent, safe, secure California redwoods.
What's the bell of it? It's Endor.
That's right. That's where the Endor scenes were shot.
Melissa Harrison said, "Try that you have a Jimmy Olsen bow tie." Actually, he doesn't have any bow ties except for the ones that go with his tux.
Oh. I will admit, I don't even know how to tie a bow tie. I've never worn a bow tie.
Well, except for the ones that go with your tux that go around your neck and then latch.
Which are actually clips. Yeah, exactly.
We're talking about Robert Burks. He was also cinematographer on The Birds, on North by Northwest, of course, Vertigo.
Yeah, Hitchcock
Spirit of St. Louis, The Man Who Knew Too Much, Trouble with Harry. So yeah, he has a very deep connection with
Hitchcock. Yeah.
Greg Leggett said, "I'll post a like if Big Al renounced Robotech."
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
You might as well just hit the thumbs down.
Hey.
Renounce Robotech.
Hitchcock was known for working, or he did get a group of people around him that he liked working with for as long as his time, as their situations permitted. But then one person would get taken away or whatever. So it does make sense that Robert Burke would work around these.
I did want to make that correlation. You were talking earlier about Alfred Hitchcock and how he, as the director, kind of directed every aspect of the film. David Lynch is a director who's very much like that. And he's got different people that he works with that, if I can use this term, gets him, that he knows how to communicate with. And he's just got this way of clicking with them. Yep, he's the person. He knows what I want. He's got to do this job.
Yeah. So now she's very much a spirit in the woods again. Suddenly he kind of lost her. She went off and she's talking kind of nonsense, talking Carlotta Valdez stuff again.
Well, she was walking away. I expected her to just kind of disappear.
And she
she did, right?
Well, I mean, not behind a tree, but just as she's walking still in sight to just kind of fade out.
Yeah.
And I was like, where'd she go?
Now, you guys have seen this before, right, Troy?
Yes, I have. I don't know about Nanette, but I have. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think I ever have.
Oh, cool. Al, did you get a chance to watch this first, or is this your first watch?
First watch.
Cool. It's fun to hear people's reactions, even the first time.
I had a crazy obsession with Alfred Hitchcock in high school. So this is very quick, weird story. I had a buddy in high school who introduced me to Alfred Hitchcock. He had actually done, he's the same person who introduced me to Dungeons and Dragons. He had done a series of Dungeons and Dragons inspired by Alfred Hitchcock. I won't go into detail because it's a mind messer to try and explain how they were connected, but he did Vertigo, Rope, and Psycho. It was
those are great ones.
Yeah, it was weird.
So the mystery deepens. It's like she's fighting for control, you know.
Because she's nuts.
You mentioned earlier as we were going into it, the music is really, it gives it that nice haunting feel too.
Bernard Herrmann was amazing for Hitchcock movies. He was so good at doing the
ooh, I love that tree.
I was just thinking that too. All of these trees that you see in the background are the kinds of trees that inspire bonsai.
Like I say, it looks like a bonsai tree.
Exactly. This is the inspiration for Japanese, miniatures. Yes. See, that's exactly what I was getting at.
I'm responsible for you. Yeah, the Chinese. Yeah.
I'd actually forgotten about this line, but it's on the nose.
And it's part of the past having influence on the future. Literally her ancestor trying to possess her there in that sense, but also the redwoods still there from the past. He's talking about old Chinese customs, and they're in California where you've got that sort of melting pot.
I'm sorry, we were talking over the scene, but they walked in front of that cross section of the tree that was showing the Battle of Hastings, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, exactly.
How the tree has been around all that time.
Yeah. Now, I will say, as much as I just so admire and respect and enjoy Jimmy Stewart's acting, I really do. He's the most awkward hugger in the world for a leading man, because he's so tall. He's got those long arms. You'll see it in a second.
Yeah.
His arms around her. He got this like limp wrist on her shoulder, and it just looks so awkward. I've seen him do it in other movies too.
And something else about this movie that resonated with me when I saw it as a younger man, this whole, gosh, this sounds terrible saying it in the modern age, but this white knighting, he feels like, I want to protect this, apparently fragile flower, Well,
there's also an aspect of courtly love. Yeah. And there's an aspect of courtly love. Now it crosses from courtly love to a more, intimate connection there. But no, I know what you're saying. I think that's very true. So talking about her visions and whatnot. So he's a detective, right? If he could just piece this together and make some sort of logic out of it, but he can't, right? Because there's just like seemingly supernatural element to it.
Well, one of the things you wanted to talk about was the duality of, male versus female. And that's very, very much the male psyche. The man wants to solve the problem, to fix the situation, to make it better.
Yeah. And she just wants him to be there with her in it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't ask me. Just take me to the light, or whatever.
Exactly. I mean, if you want to break it down to its elemental construction, the intelligent, rational part versus the emotional.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if I'm reading too much into it, but that's the yin and yang and the spirals that we were talking about at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah. And there's the piece of one in the other. Poor Midge. This is like something that when you really like someone and they are clearly not interested in you, and then you do something stupid and desperate just to get their interest, it's like, oh, Midge, come here. Just you need a hug. And his reaction to it too, because he is in no place for that right now.
Well, okay. I'm gonna speak as the mature one in the group after years of watching this film and looking back on it. I never thought about Midge too much as a younger man. I was focused the way that the main character was.
Mm-hmm.
But as an older man looking back, I would choose Midge every single time. You know, because I've had my fill of crazy.
Well, that's and that is from a Jungian aspect. You know, that's the healthy option if you look at this from a Jungian reading. You know, the anima isn't real.
I know you mean you had your fill of crazy when you were young. I think you might want to, because
Nanette knows exactly what I mean.
Okay,
every girl that I
funny.
dated before Nanette was effed up crazy, and then I met Nanette and I was like, oh, amen. You know.
Yeah. I'm not even going to say anything. The thing is, I knew at least one of them. And yeah, she was nuts.
She's being very kind, too. Oh, Wolfden Media. You're a smart ass. Air quotes, mature.
And here we have the reveal.
Oh,
yeah.
No, look at his reaction.
That look is perfect.
Yep. But, you know, from a psychological perspective, once the anima has a hold on you, you can look up clips of Carl Jung talking about this. The grip is not to be taken lightly, and you can't just brush it aside. The anima's hold is something that takes years to, and you're not supposed to you're supposed to integrate it into your personality, of course. You know, you can't, you know, but yeah, that reaction of his right there, you know, faced with her reality, crashing into his dream, that made perfect sense. Poor Midge. I feel so sorry for her.
Oh man, it makes me love her even more.
I know, right?
Well, it's like, okay, I painted myself as that portrait that you admire so much. You don't like it?
So I don't know if I ever told you this, Professor, but I was so into Carl Jung when I was in college. I kept taking The Undiscovered Self out of the library over and over and over.
Nice.
Reading it to the point that the library said, you're the only one who has any interest in this book. Do you want to keep it? Seriously.
Really? Whoa.
I kid you not.
Nice. Wow.
I majored in psychology in college.
Nice.
I don't know why, but I
did too.
I obviously when you start in psychology, you start with a little bit of Freud, but then from Freud you go to Jung, and I just got fixated on Jung.
Yeah. Well, it's there's so much truth to it. There really is, even today. Yeah,
Jung never took himself too seriously, though, the way Freud did. You know, Jung kind of knew that he meant it kind of allegorically, you know.
Yeah. And it's a really cool, you can map the progression of their ideas that do start with Freud. And I've done that before, how, you know, Jung was a student of Freud's, but altered some things. And then you've got, as a student of Jung, you had William Marston, who was the founder of Greater Wonder Woman, but also,
and the
also
lie detector.
Yeah, but also Joseph Campbell. He wrote 1,000 Faces, the hero's journey. What this film, I mean, this channel is all based around.
I'm surprised I never had this conversation with you. I think that's a big part of why I bonded with you so much, you know?
Nice to know. Yeah, it makes sense now, though. So he's trying to put a realistic explanation for it all.
Well, because he's the detective, right?
Yeah. But you got this weird angle too, you know, looking up. Things seem a little off.
I've never been there. Yeah, you have.
I'm going to have to step away for one moment. It's probably good to do it now before it gets really intense. I'll be back in just a second.
You know, I've never noticed how blue his eyes are. Well, how many times have I seen him in a color film besides this, you know?
True. Well, yeah. Even in his mannerisms, you can see how obsessed he's become with her.
Yeah.
His voice, his eyes.
He's also treating her psychopathy as a problem for a detective to solve, which isn't. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. From a psychological point of view, that's exactly what a psychologist would do. Psychiatrists would just pump you full of drugs. Sorry. I'm sorry. It's my own personal bias. Let me scratch that. Forget it.
You know, if you'd actually gotten your degree and become a psychologist, you'd be an essential worker.
Thanks. Just what I want to think about right now. But yeah, good point.
Although technically, to prescribe medication, you would have to be an MD. Yeah. So.
Yeah, but there's so many crazies out there. He'd be making a mint.
True.
I'm sorry. I became very disillusioned with the whole field. Yes, I would probably be well employed right now, but I ethically couldn't continue along that path. And I actually never made this connection before, but the way he's questioning her, the things he asks her, the way he's talking to her is very much like a psychiatrist would, you know, and that's because he's a detective.
And the camera work is really, really something in these scenes here. The slow advance.
Wolf 10 Media says, I'm going to be that youngster that acts more mature than the other kids and silently scold you because of your antics. Well, thank you, Wolf 10 Media. The more people that keep me on the straight and narrow, the better. I thought it was just Netter and Sound Engraver, but I need people to keep me upright.
Well, to be fair, anybody who tuned into Fan Man last night, once you got a little dose of Fan Man, that kind of numbs you to the extravagant behaviors for a while. So you sound quite normal tonight.
Oh my gosh! Stop with the Palpatine sound bites. It was like it was getting painful. It's like stop. The joke is not funny anymore.
It was
I meant the bodiness. There were a couple times
the
I was like,
bodiness
"Dang,
is
dude,
fine by comparison."
Now look at this. He's like insisting, like, "No, focus on me." And as he's kissing her, but she's got this pull,
like,
something else.
You're an old dude.
No. In reality, she's consumed by her insanity. You know,
or that's our understanding at this point. And this is kind of tragic words too, right?
Right.
There's a great, when it comes to these anima type characters, I think I've mentioned it before, but one of my favorite short stories ever written. It's just a little story in Neil Gaiman's first compilation of short stories. It's called Waiting for the Girl. And at the end of it, there's this girl that he'd been trying to chase or whatever. He's actually a photographer for like Penthouse or something like that. And she comes in to pose for him. Like he finally meets her after so long. But there's just this line. It says, I I didn't touch her because she was a dream, and if you touch a dream, it fades away.
Right? Yeah.
And that's the conundrum with the anima. You can't come to know the person you're projecting it upon too closely, or that anima will fade away. But if you keep them at sort of that distance, then you can still maintain the anima in them, you know, and it's
Right.
Beautiful church.
And you notice the style of this church is the same as the other. That's that mission chapel.
Yeah.
You know, it's so common. Nanette and I visited when we went out to visit my sister-in-law. We visited a
Whoa, nice.
Again, that cinematography, that trick of the
it's a really intense scene here because he's trying to save this woman that he's kind of falling for, and he's the only one that can. She's his responsibility, as he said, but then again, that debilitating
vertigo
phobia, and that's talk about heart-wrenching, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You couldn't make it to the top yourself. And I'm not trying to be funny. I'm doing the psychoanalytic reading. You couldn't get it up to the top, you know? You couldn't be a man and your woman died. You know, that's the idea.
And just a little practical advice. This is the whole don't look down concept, because that vertigo there's a certain amount of natural instinct there. Don't look down because you'll have that vertigo effect.
Chris P says, "Is that why the saying goes, 'Don't meet your heroes'?" I forgot I didn't catch where that was in reference to. Sorry.
Yeah, sometimes the comments are out of sync with what we were saying, so we forget what we were saying by the time we see the comment.
Look at this great shot.
That's a special effect because that building did not have a tower.
Right. You can tell.
You see the towers. The tower is first and foremost. That is our focus of the shot, and then we just had him coming out the side. It was like he's in the peripheral of what's really going on here, basically visually, and we will see that come to pass in the story, perhaps.
Chris P said, "Professor Geek, you were talking about the story where about the photographer meeting his dream girl."
Oh yeah.
Yes,
okay.
no, that's an excellent point.
Similar,
Chris P.
So they're having the hearing murder.
He didn't kill her.
No, but they have to still go through the act of an investigation.
But look at how humiliating it is for him too, to have to go through this and have everybody officially recognize he because of his illness, because he couldn't do what needed to be done to save this woman.
And even if every single person in that room understands and forgives, he never will.
No. And in fact, we're going to see this effect that it has on him here after this. We've got a really cool dream sequence coming up too. Go ahead, Al. Sorry.
Actor Henry Jones. I've always liked him. I've seen him in a lot of things. That guy right there.
The judge guy there.
Yeah. He was, if anybody remembers James Garner's Support Your Local films. Yeah, Sheriff and Gunfighter. He was in those.
Oh, that's right. Support Your Local Gunfighter. Right.
Although I prefer Sheriff to Gunfighter, but
that's why I always forget. Yeah.
So she's got a history, now, and Scotty can attest to that, her history of suicidal attempts. But look at that look, the way he says and looks at him. It's just like, but we're not here to pass judgment on his lack of initiative. He did nothing. Wow.
He is so hurt.
Yeah, because he loved her.
Broken, yeah.
Now he just sort of wandered out because he couldn't take it,
right.
After we saw that. So he suffered a mental blackout. That's important too to understand what's going on. Oh, so uncomfortable.
And it's a common thing to happen when you have that emotional a reaction.
And as they said, once again, having allowed someone to die, that's a reference to the police officer who died trying to save him at the beginning.
Which is something I referenced earlier, the guilt that he had to feel about that. He is saturated in guilt by this point.
And all of this comes into play, you know, once we find out some things later in the film here.
Having all those eyes on you.
You see that the first juror there, the closest one, he's got this really sharp mustache. I was just talking with Nanette the other day. I can't pull off a mustache. You know, mustaches are something that
few straight men can. Some of them can, but few straight men can.
You're absolutely right.
Now, here's something I think is interesting. The jurymen didn't even leave the room to deliberate. They just kind of huddled amongst themselves.
Exactly. It's like a caveman lawyer sketch. There's a reference for you.
Well, it also speaks to, we already know, we've decided it's done.
Yeah. Yeah. So now is Gavin McAllister coming to talk to him?
Maybe this is a topic for the Bible Geek channel, but I'm wondering how you Catholics feel about nuns not wearing habits anymore.
Well, it depends on the order too. But
good point. Do the Franciscans still wear habits?
I believe so. Yeah, the Franciscans still wear, the monks still wear the robes and stuff. I believe the nuns still wear the habits too. Yeah, I think.
I'm glad to hear it.
I don't quote me on that though. I'd have to look it up. I know that
I'm so out of touch with the Catholic Church. Last time we went to a Catholic service, I didn't even know what the heck was going on. All the responses were different, and I'm like, oh, this is how my mother must have felt when I was a kid.
You got lost in the Catholic calisthenics. Stand, sit, kneel, stand, sit, kneel.
I used to know. Everything changed on me. I'm like, you know, also it used to be
a few years ago it changed for everybody.
Yeah.
So we just had that high shot looking down after the judgment, and now we've got him back at the cemetery there again, sort of feeling judged, feeling guilt.
Sir Torrance said, Troy Pacelli, that confused me for the first time I had a teacher who was a nun who didn't wear a habit.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm a little bit more familiar with the Dominicans because my parish is run by a Dominican.
Oh, I had Franciscans at my school. I don't know if I even told you this. I went to a Catholic grade school, so for the first 8 grades, it was all nuns.
I think you did tell me that. But look at this dream sequence I want to talk about.
The color,
really interesting visuals going on, and we get the color, and we'll see kind of a return to some of the stuff we saw in the opening sequence. And all of the spirals he's seeing kind of fall together with the flowers and so forth and the hair. Because remember, he has a detective's mind. I love that scene of very
right, a realistic depiction of the painting.
And it would be how a detective's mind works. All these pieces that he can't quite fit together. You know, and he needs to because he's a detective, but they don't match, and it's muddied up with his emotions for Madeline.
Oh, Netter, I feel like I just took a hit off of Walter's black blotter.
That's a great effect.
Only soda from now on.
I know, right?
Yeah. I was going to use that as my avatar for the tonight. That just his floating head there, but. And this breaks him. This breaks him. Next time we see him, he's here in a hospital. He's had a nervous breakdown because of all this. And who should be there to take care of him but good old faithful Midge.
Shows you how superficial men can just get into trouble.
It's true.
and how superficial this mail is, because the first thing I noticed was the shape of her bra.
Oh, Troy.
And everybody in the stream is going, oh, poor Netter. She's got to deal with this ass.
I just like to pat Al on the back and say, thank you for not being that one this time, Al. Maybe it's just you're too tired. I understand.
It's because he hasn't been spending the whole stream drinking Dr. Pepper.
I did have a Dr. Pepper earlier this week, and I thought of the professor the entire time.
Yes, but he's drinking a
Did you try those
Pepper.
Doctored ED.
Oh, a doctor.
Doctor. Oh, I see. Gotcha. Daniel Heron sent me a bunch of cans of those Dr. Pepper baked beans. I sent Al one when I sent him his CDs. So
I've
been curious. None of y'all have said exactly how they turned out. Have you tried them?
I did try them.
I have not had a chance to yet.
Okay.
The can says sweet and sassy, and that's a good depiction of it. You can't really put butter on it like you would normally with baked beans, because that kind of so it's a very specific
baked beans.
Yeah,
this is the son. You put butter on everything.
I don't put butter on my baked beans.
Nope.
Sure, no,
I get in Maryland.
No, I get what he's saying about butter on baked beans. I don't normally do it, but I can totally understand it.
The baked beans should be flavored, and then the butter just no. Butter is for corn on the cob, mashed potatoes.
Look at his
kind of. Sorry, go ahead.
Look at how he is. He's become what she was. You know how she was so distant and miles away. And now that's kind of what he's fallen into, because of all of this, a very similar thing. And now she's going to go have a talk with the doctor, which is pretty key. He won't talk. Acute melancholia. And there's the guilt that Troy talked about.
Mm-hmm.
Is that Mr. Drysdale from Beverly Hillbillies?
Wait till I see him again.
I don't think so.
Hold on.
Oh my gosh, I think it is.
Is it? Doesn't sound like him. It does look like him, but it doesn't sound like him.
Listen to him. Wait, listen.
Raymond Bailey, Scotty's Dr. Mr. Milburn Drysdale.
It is.
Yeah.
Cool. Huh. He's doing a good job of playing a different character.
He plays when he plays Drysdale is a little affected and over the top.
Mm-hmm, sure. Well, before we start talking about Beverly Hillbillies, I wanted to make a point.
No, that's all we were going to say. That's all we were going to say. At least that's all I was going to say.
No, just the fact that she's the one that drops the bomb. He loved her. And it comes from her, the declaration of that, which is pretty painful and harrowing, adds to the tragedy of it all. But I'm sorry, Nina. I feel like you were going to say something a little earlier, but I wanted to talk about that.
Oh, about the baked beans. Like the ones I grew up with were the cans of pork and beans.
Oh,
so
yeah.
Pork and beans. The type of beans you're talking about, the baked beans? Like yours don't have that sauce and stuff in them?
Yeah, this was a Dr. Pepper flavor. Like it literally was baked with Dr. Pepper.
Right, but does it have that kind of sauce like pork and beans do? Like in the can?
You have it. Oh, I have. No, this didn't have pork in it. No.
Right, but it has that same type of sauce, right?
Yeah, same kind, yeah.
Okay.
You know what? I think we might have to actually just pick some up and try it because I am so curious now.
Yeah. So he finally gets out. He's better enough at least to leave the hospital, and he's just still though wandering around in a daze looking for her, right? He's so haunted by her, not literally by her ghost, but by her memory.
I am so bothered that his hat doesn't match his suit.
Well, that's his mindset, right? Everything
right?
is
yeah. I mean, that's like wearing mismatched socks.
Yeah. Like black shoes and a brown suit.
Yes. Oh, I'm so glad you understand me.
And the first place he laid eyes on her.
Now, you're talking about the hat and the suit. Now, if you have a fedora and you wear a fedora, do you buy all your clothes to match a fedora, or do you have a lot of hats to match all your clothes?
Well, I got to be honest with you. I generally only wear black and gray suits. So I don't really have a problem, but yes, you would buy a different hat for a different suit. He should right now, if he had a fedora, he would need to be wearing a blue fedora.
And
oh yeah.
But of course, it's his memory, right? You're so haunted by you project it on everyone you see.
Exactly.
All the old haunts, all the old traces. And it's a testament to Hitchcock's storytelling too, that even though there's really nothing, there's not a lot of tension in these scenes because we know she's gone and we know he's suffering and we know that all of these moments he's going to have, continue these awkwardness, but we still were with him because we're emotionally invested in his character. And then instead of seeing her transposed on somebody else, it's almost like now he's seeing somebody else transposed on her. Right? Because this is Kim Novak, the actress, still here. And this, but he's not seeing her as Madeline Elston at this point. But he recognizes some similarities there. And the green again.
Twelfth Night.
Mr. Matchstick is says he wonders if this is a case of gaslighting for Madeline.
Have you never seen this before, Mr. Matchstick?
I think a bunch of people are watching it for the first time, which is kind of cool.
Yeah. Which
now
again is why you've been very careful with the spoilers.
Yeah, yeah. And this is a repeat of when he was following Madeline into that hotel and saw her open the window.
Right. Again, I don't know why I never tied this to Rear Window with that, aspect. How did I not,
Yeah. I like that subtle sign. Escape.
Yeah,
that way.
Right?
Not that way, that way.
Get out of here. Stop it. Stop it.
A little ominous.
Imagine if he had to use a fire escape.
Oh, the Vertigo, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Matchstick says this is his first Hitchcock film.
Whoa. Oh, wow, Matchstick. Yeah.
Great introduction.
Cool. Yeah.
Oh.
Now, this is a really interesting scene. This was based on a novel. Hitchcock would often do this. He would pick up a novel that he liked the kernel of an idea in.
Yeah.
But he felt he could tell the story better by changing it quite drastically often. And he would hire a screenwriter to work with, and they would do that. And they did. And they made a very key, such an impactful change that I'll say when it happens here that really made all the difference into the story of the film psychologically.
That's an excellent point that you make, Professor, as opposed to the modern writers that I see make changes to some source material with the same ego that they can and should, and it never turns out as well as the original.
Yeah, good point. And it comes to what I was saying too, like with Billy Wilder last time. It's the difference between having directors who are good storytellers. They're not merely actor supervisors. They're not merely visual artists. They know how to tell a story through their medium. And that's all the difference in the world. So he's lost his
girl.
Yeah. He's lost his tact a bit, but he's got that detective aspect still coming. He's trying to figure out why she looks like,
And she's very cautious, but she's still being very I mean, she should have just closed the door in his face, but she's she's still answering his questions.
It was in the script.
Well,
It was in the script.
She says in a second too. She sees the pain in his eyes. I think she says it in a second. She says, "She really must have got to you bad, didn't she?" So there is an emotional connection, even at this point.
A compassion.
Yeah. And again, the switch. Now he's the spaced one, and
yeah.
And the way she speaks too, it's not so cultured like everybody, like the other one.
Right.
Yeah, very different acting.
It's almost like she's from Brooklyn, but not quite the Brooklyn accent.
Darker.
I love that. That's the turning point when she turns her compassion on, and he was staring at the back of her, and she was looking at him through the mirror. That difference of perceptions of each other. Sorry, Troy. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say even the cut of her clothes. If I can expose myself here and point out that I even noticed that even the shape of her bra is different.
Please don't expose yourself. Please. Oh God, no.
Oh, Al. I was being vulnerable and you had to make it worse.
All right.
Okay, fair enough.
And
good defense there, Al.
Her lipstick is so dark.
Yep.
Yeah, the makeup's very different. Yeah.
Way dark. I mean, like too dark for her.
I love this moment. This is so kind of sad but sweet. Now she sees through it because is it because I remind her of her, or is it because you want to have dinner with me? And again, that's a key question for the anima. Are you wanting to spend time with what you're projecting upon me, or are you wanting to spend time with me in a real relationship, how humans actually relate to each other, And he's so excited. Now, this moment right now in the novel didn't come until the end, but Hitchcock felt it needed to be in the film now. And it's quite well done how it is. I like she looks right at the camera too, because the viewers are in on the fact that at least this is the very same actress.
Right.
Now we have the color and the flashbacks. Now we know all's not what it appears to be.
And I'm not sure who else in the stream would get this, but Nanette, I want to draw the correlation between Kim Novak's characters and Carolyn and Audrey Horne in Twin Peaks.
So,
yeah.
So now we see what happened. The memories here, he shows us. She ran up there and the real wife was thrown out the window.
Yeah.
So she was posing as that man's wife. You see it. That's where you're supposed to get at this point.
Yeah.
Now, do you like that they revealed that there and not later?
I like that they revealed it there because watch what they do. Watch what Hitchcock does now with the emotional tension throughout the rest of the film.
Plus,
you feel like
you have to see it from her point of view, and this is a good place to put that.
Yeah. She suddenly becomes a real character in the movie now, not just the ghostly anima projection. She's a real Judy Barton is a real person behind it all now.
Exactly.
And her first instinct is to run away. Did you not like hearing that immediately there, Al, or your first?
No, I was just wondering because, if it was revealed later, there'd still be this mystery. But it is kind of, us knowing now we can enjoy seeing him unfold it.
No, she's left-handed.
It's weird. Yeah, it's kind of, 6 of one, half a dozen of the other kind of deal.
Well, it's her first instinct was to run. Her second instinct now is write a letter and explain everything to him. He chose her because she looked like her. And they chose Scotty, of course, because knowing he had that weakness with the vertigo.
Yeah.
So he could not, that's like really low blow. Talk about really, playing on somebody's wound.
Melissa Harris is reminding us of Dr. Pepper and Sadness.
Hadn't thought of that one in a while, Melissa. Thank you.
Wow.
I love even the wispy hair is actually styled.
Mm-hmm.
Those curls on her forehead.
Uh-huh.
Now here's
That's just me noticing the hairstyle. Sorry.
Here's the tragedy and the emotional, psychological drama here. She just admits that she fell in love with him. That wasn't part of the plan. She was just supposed to be the actress leading him on. But in the process of it, she fell in love with him too. And that adds that wrinkle to it. And now here's the moment. So her first instinct was to run. Second was to explain everything to him in a letter. And this is what makes the rest of the film, because she decides to rip that letter up now and see if she can win him and win his affection as Judy and not as Madeline.
Yeah.
And that's a hard thing to do if you know the anima, but it's tragic to watch, but it's good psychological tension here. It's a good rest of the film to see.
Well, the question in her mind is, does he love the illusion or a real person?
Yeah. She knew who he really was, so she could fall in love with him.
Yeah.
But he doesn't know who she really is. He fell in love with the character she was playing. Yeah, good point. And he takes her to the first place he saw.
Of course.
And she's wearing clothes as different as possible from what she wore.
Well, she also took the suit that she had worn before as the other person and hid it at the back of her closet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Talk about an awkward first date. Let's just be quiet while I stare at other women.
And what is she thinking? Okay, I see the elements that he's seeing in her.
Yeah.
And
She put it together.
What eyebrows she has.
Yeah, they're drawn on.
I know, they're
yeah.
all mommy dearest-y looking.
Well, they were made up when she was pure blonde too, but in a very stylized way. Now they're overdone.
And garish.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Mr.
Less
Like
refined.
Matchstick called it about the husband.
Yeah, I was just about to say that.
And it's so
Fire escape
tragic.
still back there.
It's so tragic that when you give us those little moments of them sort of laughing together, it's like almost he almost forged a real relationship with the real woman, but no. Tomorrow morning.
Wow.
Don't go to your job.
He's a little
Let me
keen,
take
isn't
care
he?
of you. Yeah.
It's not a question of if he's going to call, it's how quickly.
Look at this green light coming in from outside that's a brilliant move coming in from and she's in the shadow of it.
Mm-hmm.
Love what they do with the cinematography there.
Mm-hmm.
And the profile again, that's like you first saw her. Yeah, like way to have some tact. But there's something in that. I just want to be with you as much as I can. There's the prospect, there's the hope of maybe the reason for it will change, in her perspective.
I love that green and purple.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, that's all you see in that scene. Her skin is green. Her hair is green. The dress and her lips are purple.
Mm-hmm. Good call. And there's that unnatural look.
Yes.
To it.
Yes.
Now, again, her clothing is, as different as it can be. from Madeline. And as now she speaks differently, her whole demeanor's differently. They are different. All of the lovers on the bank, and yet he's still miles away.
Yeah.
Oh, she only wants that one purple dress when she goes out.
Yeah, that's right. She's in that again, right?
In all fairness, she may not own a lot of fancy dresses.
What do you think of the reveal here? That little twist, Al, immediately your first watch through.
Oh, that she was the
acting as the wife and stuff. Yeah.
Well, I kind of knew it because I read it on Wikipedia.
Oh, of course. Al likes to read the end of the book.
Well, I guess I like to have some details so I know what's going on, and
okay.
Well, it was my first time seeing it, and I thought that the reveal was brilliant.
Cool. All right. Good.
Well,
good. Did you happen to see it coming, like Matchstick, or did you think a different thing was happening, or what?
Kind of, sort of like it's a possibility, but I wasn't 100% until it's like, yep, there it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
And in fairness, you got to remember that the way movies were watched when this was released is very different than the way we watch movies. Mm-hmm. You had to know, you might not have gotten a second viewing of this. You were going to see it when you went to the theater and see it once, Now it's expected that you can do the big reveal at the end and then you can rewatch it as many times as you want on DVD,
Mm-hmm. I like that there. He's looking for the exact cut, the exact gray. And she's saying, "No, I like that one, Scotty." And I love this line where the saleswoman said, "The gentleman seems to know what he wants." Yes, he does. He has a very clear projection of what he wants. None of them are right.
And from the sales point of view, who's paying? That's the person I'm going to listen to.
Yeah, sure,
but
sure.
In terms of dialogue, it's communicating to her, you need to understand what situation you're in, lady.
Mm-hmm. I know the kind of a suit that would look well on you. I just want you to look nice.
And I get her. She's like, I won't do it. I don't want to look like her.
Yeah, yeah.
And rightfully so. And I'm just thinking about the saleswoman here who's like, am I going to lose out on a sale here?
It's like, I've already got one. It's at the back of my closet.
I know.
Good point. Nanette, you notice she has a mole on her cheek. That's also very Audrey Horne.
It's so painful to watch, but it's so real too. The pain and Judy's, mind.
Seam on the back of that stocking. Sorry, that's an aesthetic that's been lost.
Like those shoes, Al?
Well,
This is horrible. Look at her. She's just like sobbing. He's like, here, just drink that. You'll be okay. Shut up. Just let me change you.
Yeah, right.
It's tragic.
Okay, as a woman, I can't stand what she's wearing. Brown top, the green bottom. She looks like a tree. It's reversed.
In a flower.
I swear to you, in all the years and the number of times I've seen this movie, it never dawned on me before, but her style is pretty hideous compared to what he's trying to put her in. If she listened to him, she'd actually be in a much better style.
Well, she was playing a very classy role, right?
That's true.
Galvin McElster was wealthy, and and she's just a little working girl, a little actress,
Yeah.
So,
what's also kind of funny is Kim Novak hated the gray suit in real life.
Did she?
I remember that. Yeah, I remember hearing that.
Those of you that have been following what I've been saying to Nanette in the stream, I've been drawing parallels, rightly so, because it was an inspiration. These two characters, the whole storyline kind of played out a little bit in Twin Peaks with Kyle MacLachlan's character playing Jimmy Stewart's character.
Well, Lynch is heavily influenced by Hitchcock, certainly.
Very much so. And I honestly didn't really make that connection until very, very recently.
But this is tragic too, as she just said. He's been going downhill since he's with her. And she said that when we were first together, we had fun, but then you started on the clothes. And she's pleading to him emotionally, and his reaction, the color of your hair. I mean, and there's a little bit of a stand-in like this. I mean, not well, I mean, you can argue whatever you want, but I don't think a lot of the stuff being said is quite. Anyway, this is what Hitchcock was in essence doing with his leading ladies, creating them as a director would, his leading lady, making them into the type of person. This is what any filmmaker does with their cast, make them into the vision that he has, for the story. So it's kind of like a meta story for filmmaking too. Sit by the fire.
But I do love Jimmy Stewart's eyes, though. The maniacal ness in it. Was like, just look how he's
100%. Yeah, he is upset. He's completely taken by the enema. He's under the spell.
What, she's got to change her hair color for this guy too?
Yep. Changes the hair, gets the makeup just right. And then we have that Vertigo theme come back in. Now, this is like her last line of defense. He's waiting at the hotel for her, which is the apartment, hotel. But there you'll see when she comes in, she's got like one last holdout. But you got to wonder how much of this is his detective mind too. Part of it is his love and the spell he's under of the anima of Madeline, but part of it too is like nothing has made sense about this. And that's part of, his detective mind has been trying to put it together, and it drove him to madness for a time. And now he meets this woman who looks like her, and his detective mind is still at work, and we're going to see it come to fruition. What's that?
I said, check the garbage can for that note she wrote.
That's right. That's part of the tension. You wonder if she might, or if he might, yeah. Or check the closet and find that other gray, suit. Elevator bell. Now it's just right, except the style. Like the last little brush of it. And she's got to be worried on the one hand that she wants his love for her, but on the other hand too, is he going to figure things out? If he go ahead and makes me over and sees me just like that, will he figure it out? But he needs it just right. He needs it like.
Yeah. I'm sorry, but if Troy told me I had to change my clothes to look like one of his ex-girlfriends or something and change my hair, I'd be like, no, bye.
Well, yeah, there's the element of how creepy that is. Yeah. But there's also
Now I just want to make sure we pay attention to this shot when she walks out with the green light while Troy's talking. Yeah, go ahead and say.
Excellent.
I just want to make sure we take notice of it. Yeah.
From her point, you just made the point about how she's concerned about him making the connection, and she's still on the hook for this deed,
accessory to murder. Yeah,
exactly. So that's another reason why she probably doesn't want to continue playing that role of a dead woman anymore.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Kind of brings some attention to herself in that regard.
He has this moment like, what am I doing? What have I done? And he's kind of taken by surprise. The door opens. It's almost like the ghost walks back into his life. And I love the way it's framed and shot. And the music just adds to it. Look at that. Oh, perfect.
And my feeling on this has always been, this is incredibly sad, in my opinion.
Yeah.
You know, because it's not real.
Yet it might as well be real to him psychologically, in terms of the effect it has on him. But you're right. It's not, it can't be held. It can't be truly interacted with. Yeah.
Right. Well, I guess in a way it was never real, right?
Yeah. But it's amazing in the mind when it is real. I love this camera work here. The kiss, and we've got this circular slow. They were on a turntable, actually, how they shot this. But you see, this is where his detective mind, his heart, achieves what it wants. He has in life now, but the heart, the mind starts to work, and now he starts to remember things. Now we're back at the mission,
right?
And you can tell in his eyes he's starting to piece things together.
When I said it was sad, I especially meant it from her point of view, though. I'm going to do whatever it takes to be what he wants.
Yeah, even if it's admitting my guilt. Yeah.
You're right about his hugging, though. He does have that weird
right
wrist thing.
See, I always read it very differently. When he does that, it's generally in a scene of desperation.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's true. That's true. It does make sense for the story. I just want to clear up. No, Casey Scott. I am not saying enema. I am saying anima. A-N-I-M-A. An anima.
This town needs an anima.
So you got his own.
I'm sorry. That was great.
No, this is tragic too, because look, they're having their happy moments here. How happy he came to life suddenly, right?
Yeah.
Suddenly he's just like, he's there. Now he gets it in part of his mind, but it's not really crashing in on him yet. But he's just like, and they seem like a real couple for this fleeting moment, which is tragic. And there it is. We recognize the necklace, right?
Yep.
And again, she's just playing a role, which is not what you want to base a relationship on.
But there's the cog. There's the last little piece of licks.
Yep.
Mr. Matchstick. I need a t-shirt
here.
The claps make it all the better.
I know.
Now, the viewer, we don't know we know that he gets it, but we don't know what are his intentions, what is going through his mind, you know? We're dealing with a character who's been through trauma after trauma with the initial vertigo and his friend dying, and then the losing her, you know, falling in love with her and losing her, and then the dressing down at the whatever it's called, the inquest or whatever. And now she's becoming a little more uncomfortable because she starts to realize where they're heading to.
One thing I'm a little confused about, and I noticed this in an earlier scene. They're in the U.S. Why
is
is
they're driving on the wrong side of the road?
Yeah.
I saw that earlier too.
That's interesting. Yeah, I never picked that up.
Unless that's a two-lane highway that only goes in that direction.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I suppose you have a point there.
We've driven on plenty.
Yeah, you're right.
So. I guess that makes more sense. It's just Hitchcock's an incurable Brit.
Good point.
Now she's obviously
Yeah.
understandably
Now she's nervous.
terrified.
Yeah.
Yeah. And now he's putting it together. Or you got the detective's speech, right? The
Yeah.
detective always has the moment where he explains everything.
You've indulged me this far.
Mm-hmm. When it's done, we'll both be free.
You're off the bell tower.
Now he's trying to coax out a confession. Oh, it's so painful to watch.
Yep.
Whereas before he chased her, now he's dragging her.
Mm-hmm.
And the music is just so complimentary.
Mm-hmm.
It's like this subtle, encroaching, throbbing madness, you know, ebbing and
It
flowing.
builds, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And he's telling the story of it and directing the story in his own way too. Again, there's that sort of meta storytelling. So you can interpret it a couple different ways. You could think that maybe he really does want a second chance. What's that?
So he's going to chuck her off the bell tower.
Oh yeah, I mean that's part of the tension too. You're wondering what's going to happen.
Yeah. Has he snapped or?
Has he snapped? I'm firmly on the side of he's playing police detective, but you could interpret it a couple different ways. Trying to coax out that confession, sort of.
Well,
especially if it's dusty up there in the bell tower, it's like there's two sets of footprints. Why are there two sets of footprints? You know.
Mm-hmm.
Good point. And he's still dealing with it.
Mm-hmm.
But the obsession pushes him along.
Yeah.
And that's what I was getting at when you were talking about him being the detective. There's also the man in him that needs redemption.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know.
And psychologically, that's what you need to do too, is return to your place of trauma to get the healing.
Right.
And it's quite literally what he's doing. Oh, Wooten Media's taking off. Good night, Wooten Media. Thanks for hanging out as long as you did. We're almost to the end of the film, but I guess it won't matter if you're not watching anyway. So,
I can say it's less than 5 minutes, dude.
Did you remember? There it is, right? That was the tip.
Yeah, now she knows.
Yep. Now she's trying to run away. Yep. So she called out, "No, you're afraid you can't do it," and he's trying to prove himself.
Yeah. Because now his need to redeem himself is outweighing his you know, his fear. He's more focused on the situation than he is on looking down or vertigo.
I like that. The maniacal look in his eyes has turned to sort of one of justice, you know?
Yep.
Everything's been a lie.
Yep.
It's all crashing down. Yeah. It all crashes down on him.
Kind of goes into what you were talking about with the detective before, not having something pulled over on him and what it is. That just strikes at the heart of who he is.
Exactly. Exactly.
There was a time when that was just what it meant to be a man.
Exactly. He did it. He made it to the top.
He realizes he overcame it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. If only you'd stop when you were ahead. The way he's dragging her.
Yep.
The body language, her hugging the wall. So you also have this added element. If we ditch you, you were his girl. There's an added element of sort of a being played betrayal wise, you know, another man. Shouldn't keep souvenirs of a killing.
Yeah.
Shouldn't have been that sentimental. There's a heartbreaking line. And it's like he realizes it about himself too.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, I mean, that's the truth, right? Because we saw this moment in her. We saw her decide to stay because of her love for him. So,
but how do you interpret that as anything but manipulation?
Exactly. At this point, yeah. Once the trust is lost, you can never get it back, no matter how you try. And yeah.
Once you're lied to, you assume everything is a lie.
Exactly. But you have this little moment of maybe it's okay. And then you have this ghost.
And she just fell out the window.
Yep.
Yep.
That ghost of judgment, the nun, the figure of justice.
Yeah.
And that was enough to terrify her out of the window for real this time. And then I like this sort of just the vertigo's gone, but
yeah.
And so is she.
Yep. And the end.
Nothing more needs to be said.
Nothing more. Exactly. I know a lesser filmmaker would have had, you know, the trial of Galvin McAllister or whatever. No. The story ended there.
Yeah.
One thing I'm glad about is that he explained how they hid and wait for everyone else to go before they snuck back out. Because I was like, well, how did they leave without anybody seeing them?
Yeah, true.
You need the explanation of how the sleight of hand happened, how the trick was done, in order to fully understand it. Yeah. Before the rewatch, I saw a video about. It wasn't a video, actually. It was an article someone did about Vertigo, and it was a modern, you know, analysis of or whatever, but it was done through the prism of, is this a feminist movie? Is it empowering to women?
Gosh.
And I'm like, I got like halfway through it, and I'm like, this is
bullcrap.
Excuse the term, but it's a scholastic term. Forgive me, Sound Engraver, if you're listening to this later, but it was just mental masterbation. You know, just this modern
that's what critical theory is. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And I'm like, and I'm reading this the way I heard some people talk about philosophy back in the day and intersectional theory and modern feminist theory. It's like, oh my God, are you serious? Really? Yeah. You can only see the world through that prism. You can't look at what it really is. I was so disgusted with it.
It's another extremely crude term, but I only use it because it's extremely apt in what it means. And I always called it, you know, this is what the criticism you hear, and this is, but going through, you know, higher academia and literature, especially with learning all those stupid critical theories, which are just all political, it becomes just this ivory tower circle jerk.
Yeah.
Where everything you write is only for other people who already believe what you believe. And, you know, and it's just, oh, we need from the tops of our ivory towers, shall we decree upon what the masses shall think. And it's trickled down to the little nonsense that you see with the SJWs of society, you know? So,
yeah. And if you don't believe that, you're not an intellectual and your thoughts don't matter at all.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then Alfred Hitchcock is sitting there going, what? You know.
So it was a longer movie. It's a 2.5 hour movie. It is long.
Was it? I didn't even
prepare
realize
people for that. Yeah, no, because you're so wrapped up in it. But Joshua
Right?
V, yeah, it is a longer film. I didn't really prepare people for that, but you're absolutely right. And but you're just wrapped up in the ride. So Nanette, Al knew, but Nanette, what'd you think?
I liked it.
Yeah.
It's like, of course, I always like those kind of whodunit things.
Mhm.
And it's like I said before, it's like, you kind of have it in your head. Okay, the husband's behind this, but is he? Is that just a red herring? You think he might be, but he's really not.
Mhm.
And then you get that reveal, and it's like, wow.
Yeah.
It was really good.
And yeah, when I show this, they're always so mad at me when it ends. They're like, "What did you just make us watch?" Because it messes with your head so much. On your first, you're invested, and you're like, "Oh my gosh!" And then it fades out. They're like, "No!"
Exactly. But that's the perfect reaction. That's why you love this movie.
What about Midge? Doesn't Midge and Scotty get together?
Poor Midge. Yeah. Or what about Galvin McAllister? Does he ever get? Is he ever brought to justice? All these questions.
They had actually filmed, or did it? There was I think at one point a voiceover where they were saying that he was being they were trying to find that he was like on the run or something.
Yeah, that was the studio's sort of interference.
Yeah, and then they said, and he's like, no.
Yeah.
Well, and it comes down to it. I understand why that question comes up, but that's not what this movie was about. It doesn't matter if he's captured, brought to justice, or whatever. That's irrelevant.
It's about Scotty's journey.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And chances are, if you use logic and you think it through, okay, unless he throws himself off the top or something, he's going to go back into the world. He's going to report what happened.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to go after him. Either he escapes or he's brought to justice. But, I mean, that's the logical outcome of the story, but that's not important. You don't need to see those details.
Yeah. Yeah.
We saw the details. Plus, yes, you could, some romantic part of you could be rooting for them to get together, but the reality is she was complicit in a murder, for crying out loud. You kind of don't want her to get away with it and live happily ever after either. So
exactly. Yeah.
And he wouldn't be able to. The reality is, when he is still dealing with, what am I doing trying to turn this person into the person I fell in love with? Who was he really in love with, her, or was he in love with some image of her? And no, I can't have some kind of relationship with the murderer who killed the person I fell in love with.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway,
yeah.
Sorry, I'm actually reading way too much into it, I think.
No. I mean, these are when the initial reaction is to want, for most, a lot of audience members. Oh, but I wanted something different. But you're playing out all the possible scenarios. Nothing different could have happened.
Right?
It couldn't, because, and again, this is the kind of area. This is the kind of film where you can tell that kind of story. You don't do that with a superhero movie, for crying out loud. But you could do this with this kind of movie. So.
And I'm coming at it with, like I said, I saw this many, many, many years ago, and I've had a lot of years to think about this.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, I went through all of that. I went through I wanted to see them get together, but had all the years of maturity to think through, yeah, but if I'd gotten that, would I have really wanted that?
Sure,
Would Scotty have really wanted that in the long term? Those kinds of things.
Yeah, exactly. So hopefully the chat doesn't hate me for having them watch this, but
no, I'm seeing, Joshua is saying, this was longer than I thought, but that's cool.
Yeah.
I'm reading this thing about the alternative ending. If you want me to read it.
Sure. Yeah. The studio was trying their best to monkey with it.
A coded to the film was shot, which showed Midge at her apartment listening to a radio report voiced by San Francisco TV reporter Dave McAlton, I don't know, describing the pursuit of Gavin Elster across Europe. Midge switches the radio off when Scotty enters the room. They share a drink and look out the window in silence. Contrary to the reports that the scene
And that
was
would have ruined
filmed,
it because
yeah, it was filmed to meet foreign censorship needs. This tag ending had originally been demanded by Jeffrey Sherlock of the U.S. Code Administration, who had noted it will, of course, be most important that the indication that Elster would be brought back and sufficiently for trial was sufficiently emphasized.
Well,
Yeah,
here's the problem, though. With that ending, though, then she gets away with it, right?
Yeah, and that's a problem. Well, that's a big problem for the censors back in the day. You couldn't have people get away with crime and stuff like that, which is silly. But I would love to. We'll do more Hitchcock. Well, in fact, we're doing another Hitchcock movie on Tuesday for our Tuesday Night Noir. We're going to do Notorious, which was made before this movie with Cary Grant and Ingrid Bergman, but we're going to switch gears a little bit and look at the anima a little bit, which is the woman's projection of a male. But that's got a lot of great things in it too. Good, more classic noir.
Wow, if Cary Grant was in this one, he could have gone Judy.
Oh no. But yeah, I am a big Hitchcock fan. Have you ever seen Troy? Because one movie I'd like to do a rewatch of eventually is the movie Hitchcock with Anthony Hopkins. Did you ever see? That's really good. It's about the making of Psycho. Anthony Hopkins plays Alfred Hitchcock, and it's Ellen Mirren is his wife, who played a big part in his movies, and then Scarlett Johansson plays Janet Leigh, because it's about the making of Psycho. I never even
heard of this movie. That's brilliant.
I'm gonna drop this trailer in the stream for you. It's so good. It's so good. But yeah,
he's really good in that role too.
Yeah, and it really gets at
Hopkins. I could totally see that.
It really gets at his process of making films and stuff, and it's actually a fair film. Now there's another one out about all the trials of Tippi Hedren and all the horrible. It just really vilifies Hitchcock. And yes, I mean there were horrible things done, but just all about how evil Hitchcock is. And if you're a Hitchcock fan and really want to get all of the, you might watch it, but I wouldn't really recommend that one. But let me find the official trailer. Here it is. Yeah.
Well, that's what I was kind of alluding to earlier. The whole idea of totally Me Tooing Alfred Hitchcock in this modern age,
Exactly. Plus, you've got the abortion fairy woman playing Tippi Hedren, which just makes all kinds of sense.
Yeah.
But
Mr. Matchstick says, looking at this movie in Memento, I think you guys are going to enjoy Perfect Blue.
Oh yeah, so Matchstick really wants us to make sure we talk about the We Watch tomorrow.
Which absolutely,
yeah. That's the very next thing up is tomorrow night. We Watch on Matchstick's channel.
We don't have a link yet for Mr. Matchstick. I don't think he's created it yet, but as soon as he does, of course, I'll share it out. He'll share it out. We'll have it on the Professor Geek.
And it's at 9. Am I right?
9 your time, 8 our time.
Because it's a double feature, yeah.
So we'll be watching Ghost
in the Shell.
Ghost in the Shell, which you guys are going to have to find out there, but we'll provide you with a link for the other one. Perfect Blue. Thank you. I keep wanting to say Deep Blue. I'm having the same problem with that title that Al had with the Trinity film.
Yeah.
So
now what was it called now again? The Trinity film?
They call me Trinity.
Hi, my name is Trinity.
They call me Trinity.
Hi, pleased to meet you. My name's Trinity. What's yours?
Matchstick says he made it. Let me
Oh, did he?
Let me go to his channel.
Sorry, man. I was looking for it earlier.
He said he just made it, I think.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
He's gonna send it in to us here. So yeah, so we'll put that up there. So yeah, that's tomorrow night, Sunday night. Of course, Monday night, Sound Engraver at 9:30-ish, whenever she decides to be on, she says, So yeah, she's gonna be continuing her great talk on the deconstruction of music. So make sure you don't miss that. And then Tuesday night, the Tuesday Night Noir for Notorious that I mentioned. Now, Notorious is a hard one to find. You can't just, for whatever reason, like copyright reasons or whatever, or rights reasons, you can't just rent it on Amazon or Google last minute like you can most of these. It's only available if you buy the Blu-ray or if you sail the high seas like Captain Owl, Captain Owlbeard.
And his first officer, Troy. I will freely admit that I have my own issues with the
I've seen the
property laws
flag
of
of
the United
Captain
States.
Troy upon the high seas.
There you go. Yeah.
And you got quick. I went to Mr. Matchstick's page. I was number 4.
Do you have the link? Can you guys drop the link to his?
I'm looking for it right now.
Oh,
Okay.
I guess I should have grabbed it while I was there. I could do that.
That's okay. But of course, we'll post that in the Professor Geek Facebook group too, of course. So
Mr. Magic just shared it with me, so I can share it with all of you.
okay, good.
Okay, fine.
And I just remembered that I can actually set a custom link to the Facebook group. I realized that when I looked at my old custom link to the Catholic Bible Geek group. So I'm going to do that later on. But for right now, anyway, here's the link to the Facebook group. So lots of links there for you, but easy access to everything. So yeah. And then of course that's Tuesday. Thursday night we'll be looking at chapters 4 through 8 of Scoundrels. So head around for that. And it's way too early for us to discuss anything that may or may not be fruition on Fanman's channel. So we won't even go there right now. But we will later. We'll keep you updated. So anything else, guys? Any last minute stuff or things you wanted to shout out? Make sure you talked about?
No, not then. I don't have anything.
All right. It is kind of late, so we will wrap it up here.
Nothing clever from me. I'm starting to sober up here, so I'm pretty lame now.
That was a good rewatch. I really thank you guys for being a part of it. Thanks for all the great contributions you did. You did definitely help me flesh this out. Very much appreciated. Thanks to the chat for hanging in there with us, especially those watching it for the first time. It was great to go on the journey with you guys. And thank you, Mr. Matchstick, for cracking us all up. And yeah, great to see everybody. So we'll be back. But until next time, keep enjoying and digging deeper into the stories you love.
Good evening.
Bye, guys.
Good night, everyone.